Namaste Gurkulians, how are you? I hope that you will be fit and fine. So as you know that we are doing 7th class history chapter 4th the Mughal Empire, and before this video we have completed two video and we are on the part 3rd. In the two video you have gone through that how the Mughal established their supremacy over the subcontinent and what are the Mughal emperors that has ruled over India. We have studied about Aurangzeb, Humayun, Babur, Akbar, Shah Jahan, Jahangir. So these are the famous Mughal emperor. So at last we are discussing about the Aurangzeb. When did he start his kingship or his rule, and how did he acquire his rule? You know that in the first part that Shah Jahan, who was known as Khurram, and he has a fight with his brothers, and after killing the Dara Shikoh he has got the rulership. So he started his campaign, military campaign, that is shown in the through the map that they started in the this is the campaign that is shown to you by this map, that is the started and completed by the two Mughal emperor. One is Akbar and second is Aurangzeb. Okay, so they have started, you know that this is the Kabul and this is Kandahar. This it is Pakistan, that is the Afghanistan. They started their journey by Babur from Kabul in 1504. He won the Kabul, and after that he entered in the subcontinent, and then Lahore in Pakistan. After this there is Gujarat, there is Panipat. Sorry, these are from Rajasthan. Chittor is here, Ranthambore, Panipat, Delhi, Srinagar. Okay, and some areas from Malwa, Ranthambore, Okay, so these are the Ahmednagar. In 1685 he annexed Bijapur, that is annexed by Aurangzeb. In 1687 he annexed Golconda, and they also from their Patna, that is Bihar and Odisha. So it means they have conquered almost in this part. They have conquered almost. This is the highlighted. This is the part that is known. They have established their supremacy, that is Srinagar in J&K. So these are the areas. It means they have established their supremacy over Bengal. It means they have reached there. Yeah, that is the place. Those military campaign had been started in this area, and they have annexed or established their power. In 1663 Aurangzeb started his military campaign from the northeast side, and he defeated Ahoms, and in 1680 the Ahoms again started rebel. So after this, what had happened? So they what they did, they started their rebel again, and he also gave intervention in the matter of some Rajputs, and also faced their rebellion. After this, the Maratha chieftain that is called Shivaji Maharaj. He also come to he also accepted his rulership and come for also accepted his defeat and come to Aurangzeb for his rulership, but he insulted him and he declared himself a king. So in this period there was a rebel that was aroused by his son, that is called Prince Akbar. He rebelled. As you know that there is a tradition in the Mughals, they don't believe the rulership in the primogeniture. They believe in the rulership, they believe to acquire the rulership or acquire throne in the copricynary. It means when the kingdom or the rulership is divided among all his son, all the heirs, all the inheritors of the king, that is divided into the all his son. They believe in this. They don't believe in the primogeniture. It means they believe the primogeniture, what is in which the eldest son got his kingdom. Yeah, it means if any king died and the state that he is ruling, the state will be go to the eldest son. That is the primogeniture. But they don't believe it. And he also, Aurangzeb also faced this kind of situation when Akbar prince is rebelled against him. Okay, so in this process Akbar prince was helped by Marathas and the Deccan of Sultanates. जो डेक्कन सल्तनत थे, इट मीन दक्षिण के जो सुल्तान थे और मराठा थे, उन्होंने प्रिंस अकबर की सहायता की उसके रिबेल में, जो उसने औरंगज़ेब के खिलाफ जो विद्रोह किया था. लेकिन उसके बाद कुछ डिफ़िकल्टीज आए, कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स आए, जिसके कारण दैट इज़ वाई ही फ्ली टू ईरान टू सफाविद. एंड आफ्टर दिस जो दैट औरंगज़ेब स्टार्टेड हिज कैंपेन, he sent his armies to the enemies of Deccan of Sultanate and also face Maratha, and also face to face with Maratha, and also he has to face their warfare system like guerrilla and chapamar. What is guerrilla? It means they have to sit on the tree and hide themselves behind the trees, and whenever the enemies come, they attacked him. That is the guerrilla warfare. He also faced this kind of warfare in the battle with Marathas. So after this he has to lot of difficulty. He has to face lot of difficulty in the north west against Satnamis, Jats, Sikhs, and in the Deccan of Sultanate and the Marathas. And at last Aurangzeb was died in the succession conflict among his sons. So this is the history, this is the background of Aurangzeb. Next, that is shown to you that what is the military campaign of Akbar and Aurangzeb. These are the Kabul, Lahore, Chittor, Ranthambore, Gujarat, Malwa, okay, and Ahmednagar, Bijapur, Golconda, so Patna, Bihar. These are the places. These also have been in your books, and this is the military campaign. It means the area that is the south area. It means this area has been vacated by this Mughal emperor, but almost they have ruled over the subcontinent. So this is show. So next we are going to start our next point, that is succession of rulership. That has been already discussed with you, that they are believing in the primogeniture. In getting his throne, they are all believe in primogeniture. It means they don't believe in the primogeniture. Sorry for my statement. They believe in the copricynary. It means they believe that the kingdom should be divided into his heirs, not a one person. And primogeniture, that is the eldest son when get his rulership or kingdom. So that is the tradition of succession for in the Mughals. Okay, so this tradition, the copricynary, that has been taken from the Taimur or the Mughal emperors. You know that they are, in the beginning we said that they are proudly call themselves the Taimur inheritors. Ancestry, Taimur ancestry, they want to attach with them. Okay, so this is the process, this is the tradition. Next our point is their relationship with the other rulers, Mughal relationship with other rulers. Next is Mughals relations with other rulers. That means कि Mughals relations with other rulers. It means when Mughals comes, you know that there are some local rulers who are ruling this particular state or this particular area. So what is the relationship between this? उनके क्या संबंध थे दूसरों के साथ? So you know that until they have established their supremacy, some rulers accept their ownership, accept their rulership. Some agitate. कुछ ने तो उनकी जो रूलरशिप थी उसको स्वीकार कर लिया और कुछ उसके अगेंस्ट थे. बट as soon as they are acquiring their supremacy over the subcontinent, many rulers accept their supremacy. First of all, Rajput accept their supremacy, and those kings, those rulers who accepted their supremacy, they also got a respectable position in the Mughals court. जिन्होंने उनकी रूलरशिप पहले स्वीकार कर ली, उनको उन्होंने रिस्पेक्ट दी, मनसबदार बना दिया या किसी देश राजा बना दिया. So it means they give him something extra. So first, the first who accept the rulership of Mughals, these are the Rajputs. These are the Rajputs who first accept their rulership. Okay, so this is the first. Next, and as much as they okay, I have already discussed with you that as much as they established their rule in the continent, in this particular province, they accepted their rulership. So there is one group, that is Shishodia, that these are the Shishodia Rajputs of Mewar. Shishodia Rajput of Shishodia Rajput of Mewar. They didn't accept their rulership. Okay, this is the group, this is the Rajput group of Mewar that is not accept the rulership of Mughal, because you know in this Maharana Pratap, all of you are familiar, Maharana Pratap. Maharana Pratap is in the Shishodia Rajput, was a Shishodia Rajput, and he was ruling in Mewar. Until Maharana Pratap has been living, he didn't accept the Mughals ownership. So after his death, after his defeat, they accept their rulership. And you know, there are one feature, one quality of Mughal. If any ruler, any king accept their rulership and if any ruler or the king defeated by the Mughals, they didn't humiliate him. They also gave him back their jagirs, watan, and also give them a respectable position in their court or in their kingdom. Okay, but this balancing, what balancing? The defeating and giving them their kingdom back, their province back, or giving them a respectable position. This balancing was not kept up by Aurangzeb. You know that Aurangzeb has insulted Shivaji Maharaj when he come to accept his ownership. So this tradition would not keep on in the time of Aurangzeb. So if he didn't insult Shivaji Maharaj, then the Maratha will be in the fear of Aurangzeb, and his son will not rebel against him, and the scenario of the history will be different. तो ऐसे अगर वो ना उसकी इंसल्ट करता, उसको एक्सेप्ट कर लेता, so that is the different history. So this is the relations of Mughals with other rulers. It means they are the those who are in the favor, they have been given a respectable job, respectable place, and though also in against their fear, they are defeated, and again they are given their provinces back, and also good job. Next our point is Mansabdar and Jagirdars. Next our Mansabdars and Jagirdars. You know that these are two words. One is Mansabdar. The word, first of all we discuss about this word Mansabdar. Mansabdar, you know that this word is derived from two words. That means Mansab and second is Dars. That is the two words Mansabdars. Mansab means position or rank, and Dars means holder. It means any position or rank holder is called Mansabdar in Mughal Empire. In Mughal Empire, Mansabdar are called which which are registered any position or rank in Mughal court, that is called in Mughal Empire, that is called Mansabdar. And Mansabdars are the person those who got rank or position in Mughal Empire, and Dar means holder. So, according to their rank and salary, the Mansabdars got their salary according to their rank and salary. First is Mansabdar got their salary and rank according to the number of Zats. Zats means troops. It means troops. Okay. How much troops? How much Zats he got his rank and salary through this. Next, the other point, what should be necessary for the Mansabdari, that military responsibility. Military responsibility. Military responsibility means he has to keep a military or cavalry sawar for the support of the king, for the emperor when he is needed for this. Okay, so he has to come with his sawars and to exhibit it in the Mughal court, and after that his sawars were registered, his horses were branded, and he got his rank, his salary, got this the salary of the soldiers and the maintenance of the horses according to this numbering. So in 1000 the 1000 zabs were shorter than the 5000 zabs. So it means the nobles who got 1000 zabs was be considered shorter than the 5000 zabs. So this is the procedure. This is the proceeding through which the Mansabdar got the salaries of their soldiers and their sawars. So the question is arises. So where the Mansabdars got the salary, and you know, for your kind information, that in Akbar Code there were 29 Mansabdar. In Akbar Code, in Akbar's time, there were 29 Mansabdar. Mansabdars who had 5000 zabs. Okay, the number of Mansabdars in Akbar's time was 29, and those who has 5000 zabs. Every Mansabdar has 5000 zabs, and in Aurangzeb time it was become 79 Mansabdar. Okay, so next, that is the thing, through the Mansabdar got the salary of his soldiers. Next question, next is Jagirdars. Jagirdars, it means Jagirdars also the combination of two words. Jagirdars, it means that is Jagir, that is holder. Jagir means land. Any Mansabdar is given to any land, and the revenue that has been collected from the that land, that is be the salary in the proportion of the tax. The proportion was roughly assessed by the Mughal finance minister, and the salary of the Mansabdar will be given to was given to this in proportion to the taxes. And you know that one condition is there, that Mansabdar was never reside on his Jagirs. He has to leave another place. But in Subedari, the Subedar also could live on his estate or on his Jagir that was given to him. And you know that I have told you that in Mughal Aurangzeb time, the Mansabdar numbering was increased on 79, and in Aurangzeb time. There were 79 Mansabdar. Okay, in Aurangzeb time there were 79 Mansabdars, and you know, in Akbar there was 29, and in Aurangzeb there were 79. So there was a difference between 40. So it means when the increasing the number of Mansabdars, and there will be the shortened. There was a short. There the Jagirs were shortened, and the person who got the Jagirdari, he had this Jagirdari until he got his he got so much money from that. So for that the other person had to wait for it for their Jagirdaris, and this is very much affect the peasantry system, peasants condition in the time of Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb didn't control over it because of his son's rebel. So that's why in the Aurangzeb time it was totally disturbed. So this is the point. Mansabdar and Jagirdars. Today's lecture we have discussed Mughal army campaign, that was Akbar and Aurangzeb. How much their campaign was spread in the subcontinent. Next we discussed about the Mughal relationship with the other rulers, and apart from this we discussed about the Mughal succession tradition. They believe in the they didn't believe in the primogeniture. They believed in the copriecenary. And at last we discuss about the Mansabdar and Jagirdars, who were Mansabdars who got a high rank salary, and Mansabdari from the Mughal Empire, and who got their salary according to their rank, and rank will be decided with the Zabs, that will be the counting of the troops, and military responsibility, that he has to keep a military, and maintenance was he had to maintain this military in the time of the king's need, and the Mansabdars in Akbar time was 29 and in Aurangzeb was 79, and this thing would disturb the whole scenario of the revenue system, and peasants were very much affected by this. So this is, dear students, this is all about our today's lecture. The next lecture we will discuss about the Zamindar and Jabs, and about Akbarnama, Aine Akbari. So this will be discussed to you with the next chapter. So until goodbye, have a nice day, namaskar.